In 10 minutes, we're going to show you how every FCE should be done and how we do them right in our office.
So the first test we're going to conduct here is a lift and carry test. It's going to measure his functional ability to do both those things, walking, carrying, and see what his full ability is to do this task.
So before we start with the resting rate first. The resting heart rate, blood pressure, respiration rate, pulse ox, and pulse. We're wearing the pulse ox during the whole time so we can see on our phone what the effort is.
All right, so I'm going to have you squat down, good, and lift up with the legs, good. We're going to walk down 14 feet or so to the end here. Once you get down here, I'm going to have you lift it carefully up above your head. There we go. You bring it down carefully, get back that squat position. Nice and stable, good. Have a seat here for a second. Then we want to check your cardiovascular response to doing that activity. We'll ask the patient about his exertion during the activity to rate how hard he felt it was from a breathing standpoint, from a muscular standpoint, and just his total effort.
So in this process, we're going to do 3 different lifts. We're going to do from the floor to waist height. Marty will place the weight here and then remove it and bring it back down. The second test is from waist to shoulder, doing the same thing, pulling it off and bringing it down. And the last test will be going from shoulder straight up. And with all these, we also look at biomechanics that's very important. We always have the patient try and bend at the knees unless they have a foot, ankle, or hip pathology, or even back pathology. All the FCEs studies that we do are videotaped so we can observe behavior patterns afterwards. He'll come down to sit down and we will start the process of his blood pressure, his pulse ox, his oxygen level. From there, we're gonna allow him to rest and then we're gonna proceed to repeat the test until the Borg score reaches 16 or higher. It's broken down to 1 to 10, or 6 to 20, doesn't matter. Either way, when he reaches the red area, when he perceives it's too tough, that's when we stop. Or if we see him performing illicit biomechanical responses, we will stop him for fear of his safety and damaging the pathology that he already has.
All right, we're going to work on a sled pushing exercise right now. We will be filling up the buckets with a certain amount of weight to start with. He's going to do an effort pushing across to the other side of the room. We'll observe his form while he does it to make sure it wasn't a struggle. After that, again, we would have him sit down, take his heart rate, his blood pressure, check his oxygen levels. We're going to ask him how hard and how difficult it was for him if he had pain during that movement. We're going to add some weight. We're going to repeat it until once again he gets into that red zone where it becomes too difficult for him to continue. The next test is a pull test. Different muscle groups we'll be using here. Functional activity for many people who are working a physical job. So we would like to see how it is using full body effort. We'll check his vital signs post. If it wasn't too exertional, he feels good, we will continue it until to the point of failure or a pain would arise that would stop us from continuing the test.
So this test is known as the Minnesota Dexterity Test. And this is done as a time test. And we have the patient perform the test 3 times. In the process of doing that, we want to make sure that there's accuracy in their speed and their agility. This measures their ability to perceptually use eye-hand coordination, the ability to hold and move the objects. There's multiple different parts of the test. 2 parts of the test are single-digit movements. In other words, one hand, where you'll grab the pegs and move them. One is you flip them over, and then there's a dual hand test where you flip it into one and put it down and continue with one hand grabbing and flipping and the other one placing. And then we reverse the process with the other hand. Marty, we're going to give you 1 minute. You're going to grab with your left hand, you're going to place it with your right hand, and you're going to flip the object over.
We're going to measure how many checkers they were able to manipulate in that 1 minute time, and they'll compare that against thousands of other people that have performed this test to see what the norms are and if they fall in range, if they're below, or if they exceed it.
If someone is malingering they can't effectively time their speed of doing it. And we do 3 sessions. So if we see that there's a significant difference between one of the times versus the others, there's an indication that they may be fabricating their involvement in this. We wanted to talk about some of the benefits of how we do the FCE compared to many other facilities. First of all, it's done by me, a chiropractor, and by Marty Lentz, a physical therapist, and a DPT, a doctor of physical therapy. So we get 2 different perspectives on this. And also, I do a medical examination before even starting the FCE.
Yeah, and a review of records, pertinent records.
Yes.
The test itself, it can range anywhere from maybe a few hours up to, they could be 2 days, according to how in-depth we have to be, how the patient tolerates everything. They may need a lot of rest periods. It takes a lot of time when we're doing the vital signs because we're getting true resting vitals, we're getting during the exercise, we're getting post-exercise vital signs, which is time consuming, and we want to be accurate in that respect because it's very important towards their future employment placement.
One of the other things that make us unique in the FCE testing is we do work simulation. In other words, we try and find out what the patient does at work and try to reproduce that here on testing.
We had to get that guy that he brought in his actual scaffolding that he uses for a lot of his work. So he took the time to have to set it up to show us how much work is involved in doing that, how long it took him to do it, his capability to do it compared to what he used to do pre-injury, and it gives us a better idea of his current capabilities.
And wasn't that interesting, Marty? He lost one of his index, and he was adamant that he could perform the job. But we had him try, after putting up the first level of the scaffold, to go to the second level. Because he lost his index finger, as hard as he tried, he couldn't even get to the second level, which was a great value for demonstrating what his limitations are.
And we were saying also, we would like to videotape everything. We can go back and review things we might have missed from a biomechanics standpoint, just to see how his postures are throughout, and you can actually see facial expressions to see when something is really a struggle or when pain starts to present more so, and it just gives us more of a bigger picture and a more accurate picture of their capabilities.
We performed easily over 300 FCEs. The response that we get from both plaintiff and defense attorneys, from the judges, and from the case managers have been overwhelming. They tell us that the extent of our FCEs and the data that we collect is significantly more than they have from most of the average FCEs performed.
Exactly.
One other point I want to make is that when you do a medical examination, you're doing range of motion, you're doing orthopedic tests that challenge a particular tissue to elicit a response. You're doing neurologic, which could be strength or sensation. We go beyond the standard testing, and the value is significant. We've had people who seem very strong that were able to do their jobs, but when we do sensory tests or a tandem walk or what we call cognitive function test, we pick up significant pathology that would be a dramatic change or safety in their job that just is not picked up by the physical aspects of the job.
Correct. So this is a very brief display of the kind of work that is involved with doing a proper FCE. It is a long process which a lot of people aren't prepared for because they haven't done this kind of physical work or cognitive work in a long time. But we're aware of that, and we make it as pleasant as possible for them through a tough testing time.
In addition to performing FCEs, we are also always prepared to testify in court. Cursory FCE reports undermine all sides of workers' compensation cases. Trust us to provide a thorough evaluation that assesses every aspect of a patient's abilities, helping your case reach a true and honest verdict. You can contact us at 215-725-2000 or visit our office at 6735 Harbison Avenue, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for more information.
Thank you for watching. Check us out in the next video.